Are you looking to engage the services of a buyer's advocate? In this video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step account of what to expect from the moment you have your first 15-minute call right through to the end. Hi, I'm Karen from Kelly Property Consultants. I help property investors and homeowners get into the property market in regional New South Wales. If you like what you see in this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and also hit the little bell notification so you can receive future videos as they come out weekly. One of the first things to happen when someone's come from one of my social media posts that they'd actually be guided through to book a call with me. Now, this is basically just a meet and greet. It's to work out if my services suit what they're actually needing, if they're ready to buy, and if they want to buy now, or it could be 6 months down the track. When they initially book the call, I'd actually ask them a few questions such as, have you got your finance organised? Do you know what a buyer's advocate is? Do you own any property? And just a few questions like that. That's just so when I actually first meet you, I have got a bit of an idea of who I'm actually speaking to. If the conversation looks like I can actually help you and that you think that we could be a good fit to actually work together and maybe find out more, I'd actually ask you to book a secondary call. This is basically a discovery call. And this is where I actually work out what you want from buying a property. It could be you're after your own home and you need help in finding that property, or it could be that you're a property investor. If you're looking to invest in property, we'd actually start to discuss what type of property you want. What do you actually want to get from the property? Such as, are you after a development block or a renovation? Are you looking for something that's going to be positively geared, meaning that it's got money coming in each week that will pay all of the debts and will actually make you money? We'd also discuss what name will you be buying it in. If you need assistance in setting up some type of structure, I can refer you on to an accountant that I have used myself. If you're not 100% sure whether you need to buy it in your name or in, say, a company or a trust's name, I can actually connect you with an accountant who can actually walk you through the process if you don't already have one. During this call, I also would be able to connect you to people such as a finance broker if you don't already have one, if you need to get your finance approved, also to a conveyancer, and just some of the professional people that you need in your team. It doesn't take long to actually start to go through these things. Probably one of the biggest things is just to find out what you actually need when you buy the property and why you're doing it. So it's probably sometimes to ask the hard questions of, what are you going to get out of it? How is it going to make your life better? And what's the goal at the end of all of this? It could be that you would like to buy so many properties in a certain amount of time. So you need to actually start to have a bit of a plan of what you actually want to achieve. During this phone call, I will ask you, do you want to engage my services? Generally, people may need a little bit of time to decide whether or not what the services I offer are of benefit to them, or quite often they'll sign up there and I can send through the paperwork. So from here, say the person definitely wants to use my services, I'd actually send through a buyer's agency agreement. In this, it'd actually have my fees listed and any initial payments that are required at the beginning. From here, once the paperwork and any initial payments are required, are paid, we would actually then sit down and have a third call. And this is where we would really get into what type of property you're after. We'd actually make sure that we have got your finance is approved or it's getting approved. And I would also connect you and get you to speak to your conveyancer. If you're a property investor, I'd also connect you through to the accountant so you can work out what name you should be buying your property in. And if you needed further help, a financial planner, these are people that you definitely need to speak to before you even start looking at property. Because if you find a property that you really like, that it ticks all the boxes, that everything you needed, and you didn't have a structure set up prior to that, you wouldn't be able to buy it in that name. And these things do take time. And this sometimes in a hot market, you don't have time to waste. So that's why one thing that we would get organised right from the beginning is so that your buyer ready. So your finance is approved. You've got any structure set up if you need to buy in a structure. if you're a property investor. If you're a homeowner, you'd be buying in your own name. Generally, these are things that we would discuss in the third meeting. Once we've worked out what type of property you're after, I'd actually go away and I would start sourcing and researching the market. We would have narrowed down the areas that you were looking to invest in. I actually look in the regional New South Wales area, which is quite a large area, but quite often buyers actually have different areas that they want to invest in themselves. So from there, I would go to those areas and I would source the right property that they're after. It'd have to meet all of the things that they have asked on their property brief. And this is information that I would write down, you'd get a copy of, so that we are both on the right track and we know exactly what you're after. Instead of flooding you with 50 different properties, I'd only handpick a select few to show you. These ones would be near 100% of your property brief. Prior to actually giving you this information, I would do initial phone calls with agents. I might even do initial FaceTime calls with them so I can check the property out to see if it definitely is what they're saying on the internet or in their advertising brochures. So I've got a very good idea of what the property is before I even present it to you. If it's going to be an investment property, I would even get a rental assessment done on it, just so that when I do present all of the information to you, you've got everything there so you can decide then and there whether this is the right property for you or not, and whether we should pursue it. If this looks like it is the right property for you, from there we'll actually go and inspect the property. Now, depending upon where it is, if it's not a local property to myself or to the buyer, I'd actually get someone to inspect the property for me. As I cover quite a vast area, I have got different agents that I actually work with in different towns that actually assist me in the property inspections. One of the best things with today's technology is the ability to be able to do FaceTime calls. You can actually inspect the property from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to physically be there. So that's one thing that buyers actually like. They can live in a city and actually invest in regional areas and get to see the property as it is today in real time and to see it in the condition that it is. Quite often you'll see the real estate listing and the pictures look amazing, but because of the great photography that they have, it can actually distort what the property really looks like. So this is one good thing about the FaceTime. We can actually really get to see what the property's like, particularly if you don't live in the region. Now, if you think this property is worth pursuing, from here I'd actually go away and I'd do a current market analysis. I'd actually work out what we think the property definitely is worth. This is what a real estate agent would do right at the beginning when they're doing their listing presentation to the vendor. They'd actually be sitting down and showing properties that have actually sold in the area and what are currently for sale, so they can actually gauge this is why your property is worth this amount today. This is what we would do, so we definitely know that the amount that they've actually got it advertised for, or they might only have a price guide. So this gives us real information that we can go away and then determine what type of price you want to offer on the property. I would then actually present you with a full current market analysis of the property with as much detail and information that I can find on it. Your conveyancer would have gone over the contract to make sure that everything looks right and that there isn't anything that you're unaware of. I've actually bought a property in the past where I didn't realise at the time, because I didn't actually look at my contract properly, is that I actually lost 3 metres at the back of the block. And that was because council had put in place, they were going to widen that street at the back of the property. And as every property got sold over the years, each property was losing 3 metres, so eventually they can widen that street. So it's little things like that that you need to get your conveyancer or your solicitor to check out your contract, so you know everything, that there are no easements on the property, so that you're thinking that you may go and put a new shed there and you find out later on that you can't because there's an easement and you're not allowed to build upon it. So these are things that we have to do before we even present any type of offer, just to make sure we've checked it out as fully as we can. Once I've presented everything to you, you can actually gauge how much the property is worth and what type of money you actually want to offer them. From here, I can negotiate on your behalf and present the offer. Usually I would put this in writing and I would give my reasons why. if there's anything that we can add into the offer, such as maybe long-term settlement or maybe a short-term settlement, anything that we think that will help the vendor take our offer, particularly if they have multiple offers at the same time, we need to be able to present our best offer at the beginning. So once I've presented the current market analysis, we can actually work out what you think the property's worth and what you're willing to pay. From here, I can actually negotiate on you and I can actually present the offer for you. I normally would put this in writing and I'd give our reasons why we're presenting this offer at that price. If there are any special conditions or requirements at all, this is when we would present all of these things. It could be things such as you're asking for a lengthened settlement because we've known in discussions with the real estate agent, the owner is seeking to stay at the property purely because of their circumstances. So these are things that we would put into our written offer. List any special requirements that we have, such as pest and building, if it is still subject to finance, because maybe this property's come up that quickly that you weren't 100% ready and the bank hasn't finalised it. You've been pre-approved, but it hasn't actually got to the final stage. And from here, we'll actually negotiate the best deal we can for you. Quite often I've had people say, well, you're a real estate agent also, you work on commission. Some buyers advocates do work on a commission, others work on a flat rate. But at the end of all of this, our main aim is to offer premium service to our clients, to try and get the property at the best price for you, because that's who we work for as the buyer, not the vendor. A real estate agent who works for the seller is trying to get the highest price they can get, because that is who they're working for, the vendor. And yes, that's how they get paid. They get paid by a commission, a percentage on the sale price, where I actually work on a fixed rate. So it doesn't matter if you pay the lowest possible price, I'm on a fixed rate and I would never get paid any more, whether you pay more or less for a property. The only interest I have is to actually deliver high quality service to my clients and to make the buying process as smooth and as easy as possible, to make it as stress-free as it can be for my clients. And the biggest thing is to get the property at the best price for my clients. So once we've actually won the bid and the property is now yours, if there's any special conditions that are required on the property, we'd actually carry these out. We can actually organise these for you, or we can work with you if that's what's required. From here, once all the special conditions have been met, contracts will be exchanged. Now in New South Wales, there's 2 contracts that need to be signed. Both contracts are exactly the same. And what happens is the vendor solicitor would have one, the purchaser's conveyancer would have one. Both parties would sign it. They would send the contracts then over to either conveyancer or solicitor. And from here, the signatures of the other party would now be put onto the contract. Once all parties have signed both contracts, then the contracts will be exchanged. From here, the deposit is required to be paid. This is generally 10% of the purchase price, and this deposit can be paid and held with your own conveyancer or solicitor. From here, the solicitors, they will start acting on your behalf. Generally, New South Wales, settlement is a 6-week period, 42 days. Quite often it may be longer or shorter, depending upon what you had organised as part of your negotiations, if you wanted shorter or longer. Your conveyancer would then go through and double check all searches over the property. And these are things such as electricity, it may be railway. There's quite a list that they would go through to make sure nothing comes up as a red flag. So both the vendor solicitor and the purchaser's conveyancer will be working with their banking institutions that either the vendor has been dealing with or the purchaser is now going to have a new mortgage through. The aim here is to get the title released from the lending institution that currently holds the title deed. That is if the vendor does have a mortgage currently on the property. And at the same time, the purchase solicitor or conveyancer will be now working with your banking institute that you will actually be going to get the mortgage with, and they will be teeing up a time and date for a settlement date. This is what happens during the 6-week period. If you're not 100% sure, your conveyancer will run through everything as you go through the procedure. At the exchange of contracts, this is where my services generally would end in that sense. I've found the property for you. We've negotiated on a deal. You've got the property now, contracts have exchanged, and this is where my final payment for my services would be paid. This would have been one of the conditions that you signed in the buyer's agreement. But if at any time after the exchange of contracts, if a purchaser needs any assistance at all, I'd always be there to help them as much as I can. Quite often, if it's an investment property or even a home buyer's property and they can't get there for the last inspection for the property, these are things that I can do for you, or I can organise someone for you. If there's any other things that are going to be happening with the property after settlement, you may have asked for my help, such as it may be a renovation and you just needed a bit of help in finding the right people for the job. These are things that I can also assist you with. So basically, a buyer's advocate is there to help you step by step through the different stages of buying a property. We're there to help you right from the beginning in finding someone to help you with your finance if you need it. We're there to help you connect you with your professional people, such as your conveyancer, a financial planner, an accountant. It may be a pest and building inspector, right through to someone such as a property depreciation specialist. If it's an investment property and you need one, as soon as you've actually settled and you've got the keys to the property, this is someone that you should be sending through. So these are little things right at the beginning we can help you with. We actually help you create a plan of what type of property you're after so that you've actually got a written down goal of what you want to achieve. Quite often in the second discovery call that I would have had with a client, and they end up not using my services, by the time I've actually finished the call, I'd like to think I've been able to help them enough that I've actually been able to give them enough guidance that they can actually now take the steps themselves, whether it's to get buyer ready, to get their finance, to connect with the professional people, or even start the research process of the property that they're after. One of the biggest things I find your buyer's advocate should be doing for you is to save you time, because time is something we can never get back. And if I'm able to give back my clients time, that they have their weekends free, they don't have to turn around and ring agents, they don't have to try and chase agents up because they haven't returned their phone calls. If I can narrow down the search radius from 50 properties down to 2, well, I'm doing my job for them and I'm giving them back their time, because time is valuable. Another thing that I'd like to be able to give my clients is to be able to get the property at the best price for them. So if I can save you time, try and save you money at the same time, make it a stress-free experience, try and take all of the emotion out of the buying process, and to make this a really enjoyable experience, then I've done my job. So I hope this video has given you a brief outline of what a buyer's advocate should be doing for you, right from the beginning, right through the moment you pick up the keys. If you have any questions at all, leave a comment below and I will gladly answer them for you. If you'd like to find out more about the services I provide in regional New South Wales, there's a link below. Book an appointment today and I would love to have a chat with you. But if you like what you've seen in this video, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and also hit the little bell notification for any future videos that come up weekly. And until the next video, all the best to your property journey.